What's happening, YouTube? Welcome to Moose Preparedness. I am Moose. It is a nice and warm day, actually, for the middle of December. And I wanted to kind of start a little mini-series in honor of some of the things that I like to do. So I'm very big into the tactical shooting community. I love to shoot. I've done long-range shoots, tactical shoots, used to do some 3-gun, but I love shooting. And one of the things that we always talk about on Moose Preparedness is we try and go, okay, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and what are we doing and why? And one of the things that invariably all preppers boil down to is like, oh, I need guns. I need all these firearms. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about some of mine and some of the reasons why I had them. So one of the biggest things that I've got going on regardless right now is I'm kind of going through and doing inventory because, as I said, we're moving. And you always want to make sure that you catalog and you put out what you have, where you've got it, and why. That way, in case anything happens to it in transit or at your destination, so that way you know what you have. But anywho, long story long, one of the reasons I wanted to do this is because if you have never read the book by Mel Tappan, who has passed away, called Prepper Guns, he goes into a pretty good detail in terms of what guns are great for preppers. And I figured I'd do kind of a little homage to him and go through some of the ones that I've got. So most people have their preferred guns for shit hits the fan, you know, without rule of law, bad days coming, whatever you want to call it. And one of the ones that I think gets mentioned a lot, but I really wanted to hammer home on, was the 22 long rifle round. Why? So 22 long rifle is, one, available everywhere. It's cheap, and it weighs significantly less than some of the other rifles. Or rifle cartridges. So 5.56, 7.62 by 39, so the AK rounds, or 7.62 by 51, the AR-10/308 size rounds. And may not sound like a lot to you, but when you can carry a small brick of 500 rounds for about the same weight as it costs for 60 rounds of, say, 5.56, and I'm being approximate here, so you can weigh it yourselves and get back at me and tell me that, hey, you're wrong. But definitely would take a look at it and go, hey, when you're humping things through the woods, it's really good to have a lighter round. I recently did, well, I should say recently, it's almost a year ago now, we did the Mammoth Sniper competition. It was held at Fort Gordon, now Fort Eisenhower, Georgia. And I think it's being held somewhere else this year for that. But it's about 30 to 40 miles of rucking. And I specifically chose the 5.56 round for that one versus the 7.62 by 51 or 308, which I'd much prefer for longer range shooting because of the weight. So when you've got everything on your back, like you might in a without rule of law, you know, shit hit the fan and got a bug out scenario, you might be humping all the stuff that you've got. And if you're doing that, 22 long rifle is a significantly easier round to carry. Some other fun things that are reasons why I like it, and I'll show you some of the ones that I've got. So this one here is a Ruger 1022. Doesn't look like it, right? So we're mostly used to the Rugers that look wood stock and have, you know, the iconic look. This is the Talo edition, T-A-L-O. Kind of more of a 5.56 feel to it, and that's kind of why I got it. And I also got a great deal. So I'll kind of show you just a little bit. Still has the classic Ruger actions on it. So, you know, the only difference is it's got the bolt release up here, pushes in, but it loads. I'm gonna show empty, so that way the YouTube warriors out there don't get too pissy. But magazine loads up, holds in. I like it though, because it's got a full length pick rail. It goes all the way up and down. So I'm able to do 5.56 style sights. So I can practice at a fraction of the cost. It does have a stock that's similar to a Magpul stock. So it's really good for whenever I'm teaching my kids. One of the other reasons why I got it, if you'll notice, it is a thicker barrel than normal. It's fluted, so it's less weight, but I got it because it's a threaded barrel. Very easy to get on and off. And that brings me to my next point. The other great aspect of the 22 long rifle is you can suppress it. Now this one here is a slingshot. I believe it's made by YHM. Let me check real quick. Nope, Innovative Arms. So this is a 22 suppressor. Now, some people are questioning whether or not to get suppressors. I will tell you that they have been fantastic for my shooting. My kids, my wife also like shooting with suppressors because it's significantly less volume. It doesn't sound nearly as bitey. And on the 22 long rifle, so far, I've had nothing but success with these. So the reason why I like this particular one is that it has a monolithic core that pops out. So here's the shroud. Still has some of the burn marks in there, but the cool part is it's got a monolithic core. And that's really all a suppressor is, right? So what it does is it traps the gas in between here and slows it down just enough so it doesn't make your ears pop. But the nice part about the 22, and you can see it goes in pretty easily. You just find the same grooves again, pop it on, tighten it up. But the nice part about the 22 is that this platform really lends itself well to being suppressed. Now, one of the things that you'll notice if you do ever run suppressors on it, so it doesn't add a whole lot of length, it doesn't add hardly any weight on it compared to some of the bigger guns. And then again, if I want to take it off, it's really simple. Just pop it off, go about my business, put on the muzzle brake, back up here. It's not that much louder with the muzzle brake. 22 long rifle recoils so little that the muzzle brake, which is designed to help mitigate recoil, it really doesn't have much of effect on anything. So I've not noticed anything that was super changed with that. But one of the things you'll notice is that you cannot shoot, especially in a semi-automatic, you cannot shoot, even with the suppressor, you can't shoot the suppressed rounds or the quiet rounds. They don't cycle. So one of the issues that you'll run into, especially if you're trying to be super quiet, and you've got a semi-auto like a 1022, it does not cycle very well with the quiet rounds. But I highly recommend these little suppressors. They're great fun. I was hesitant about getting one because, you know, the long wait times with the ATF. So the first batch of several I got was about a 6-month wait, a couple days short. And then the next batch I did earlier this year, and it was under 24 hours. That was whenever their machine screwed up and started doing people who had just put stuff in first. And hey, I'll be the benefactor of that all day long. But I have a couple of these 22 suppressors because it makes it really nice to carry. Other little fun things. So that's the standard length 1022. Again, Talo edition, so it's a little bit bulkier than normal. But you can have a lot of fun with the 1022 platform. Now, one of the ones that I really enjoy, and this is the 1022 Charger. So it's actually a pistol. You know, categorized by the ATF as a pistol brace. Whether or not you want to fight that fight, up to you. I didn't want to get the extra tax stamp. So for those who don't know, you have to pay a $200 tax stamp to Uncle Sam to get this. And then if I was to put an actual folding rifle stock on here, it'd be another tax stamp, which is a pain in the ass. Because that means that now I've got to have a tax stamp for this and tax stamp for that. But the cool part about the 22 Charger is that this is considered a pistol. I put on a pistol buffer tube with a pistol brace. It's not immaculate, but it's something similar. Found somebody who was doing these Charger parts on eBay of all places. They weren't too expensive, but it basically has a Picatinny rail that this falls in on and you can screw in. So it makes it super nice. This is a double 25 round banana mag, or whatever you want to call it. This one did have rounds in it because this is kind of one of my backpack guns, but I'll show you clear. So the nice part about this is that it's tiny, really good for backpack. You don't lose a ton of muzzle velocity, and then again, when you start to get ready to try and play games or try to go do stuff, you now have an extremely quiet, extremely compact gun. So for this one, even if I take the take those off, or at least push them down. So what I can do is I can take all of this. I've got the threaded suppressor on, and now I'll show you. You put where the magazine goes into the receiver well. Even with a suppressor, it's shorter than the standard length, and they're about equal in terms of size. So just want to show with the suppressor how much shorter that is. But the nice part is if I wanted to take this, say, on a backpack gun or put it in a car, truck, whatever, this is fantastic. And I have a little Bushnell sight on it. Not a huge fan of using this as a primary optic just because I'm worried about batteries. However, this one does pretty good job, but I do have some other options I'll probably end up trading out for it eventually. But again, the nice part is that I now have something that weighs less than just the AR by itself, significantly less than the AR just by itself. I now have, this is 50 rounds and a suppressed gun or suppressed firearm for minimal weight. And I can literally pack this. If I had a backpack close by, I would have been better for my filming. But anyway, kind of goes in. Again, 22, is it gonna kill everything that moves? No, it's not. Straight up won't. But the cool part is that it'll do a pretty darn good job. In fact, poachers tend to use a 22 when they're hunting deer because they don't want to be heard. So a 22 is super quiet anyway. And then when you suppress it, even if you do have the supersonic bullets, even out of like the Charger, because of the decrease in barrel length, it makes it even quieter because it loses that muzzle velocity because it doesn't have as long of a barrel. So that's one of the guns that I really think is really highly undervalued, just because of the fact if you really need to carry something and you need to go for a long distance, ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain, and I can carry an absolute ton of 22 long rifle. Some of the downsides, obviously not as potent, not as powerful, still equally deadly if you hit in the good spots, you know, the fatal T in between the eyes down, you know, up here, if you hit in the femoral artery, still just as deadly, just may take more shots, but I wouldn't be shooting much past about 100 yards with a 22, at least for a reliable one-stop shop for two-legged predators. So that's one of the downsides. Another downside is they tend to be inherently dirty. They run dirty, so they do have to be cleaned and maintained because 22 long rifle is dirty. And then the other big downside is that 22 long rifle is a rimfire cartridge. So that means that the hammer or the striker on there hits the side of the shell. And what that causes it to do is sometimes it doesn't hit correctly. So you'll have a lot more malfunctions in terms of failure to fire just because the ammo itself is not as reliable as something that's center fired like a 5.56 or a 7.62 by 51. So that's part of the series of prepper guns that I'm going to do to at least provide some content for everybody while we're over the Christmas and New Year's break. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you think this is a good one, please give me a like, thumbs up, send a comment, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please share it because I've noticed that the YouTube still doesn't like my content, and I've noticed a steady 10% decrease about every couple of weeks, probably because I've pissed off the algorithm somehow. So we'll see how this video does, seeing as I don't think I broke any rules. But anywho, stay safe out here.